And someone said to me, go and join the Navy. And I laughed. I went, absolutely not. Absolutely not. 9 months later, there I am on a PT course in the Navy. Keep showing up. If you believe in something and you've got passion with something, it's like if you believe in your product, you're going to get rejected. I got rejected. I didn't get, Yeovil never got back to me. But I found a little, as soon as I had a foot in the door, hey, you ain't get rid of me. I'm going to be there. It was quite a dangerous, eye-opening experience. I was a PTI and I was suddenly the patient in this care unit. And I was like, oh my God, please don't ask me what's wrong with me. I've got a bad ankle. I haven't got time to be healthy. Nonsense. You need structure, you need purpose, you need fulfillment. The three buzzwords that I use with people.
What would you say is the biggest unwellness trait that you see with people? What would be the big one change they could do?
Every time I have a consultation call with someone, they say the same thing.
So Ollie, you're in Budapest.
Indeed. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's fucking cold.
But it is cold, yeah. Mind you, the UK was cold when we left.
Yeah?
Yeah.
A bit of snow on the ground or?
No, not in Devon.
No?
Let's go on the moor.
Yeah, I woke up to 2 inches this morning and my wife woke up to 1, but that's a different story. So you started life in the military? Is that straight from school?
No, latecomer, 24 when I joined the Marines.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So the old boy.
I was. Granddad used to call me. Saying that we had a 30-year-old in our troop, passed out.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember how my body felt at 30. There's no way I could have gone through Royal Marines training.
Yeah, I remember some of the Gurkhas going through, and one of the guys was 28, and I was broken at 26, I think. So
yeah, story of my life. But no, I joined 24 by default as well. Never had this dream to join the Corps. So lads that I was joining with, they were like, "Yeah, I've been training for the last 3 or 4 years for this." I literally rocked up, literally just cuffed it, because if we go back, I had a history of like achievement, performance, crap at school, usual story, misbehaving.
Yeah,
and then I was sailing.
Okay.
Yeah, I was very fortunate. I got brought up very well and introduced to sailing. Ended up on the British Olympic sailing team.
Wow.
This is dinghies, like laser class 49ers. You have to go and Google it to find out what they are.
Yeah, I'll put a picture up.
Yeah, but they're all high performance boats. And I said my childhood was I was privileged, even though I was a bit of a tearaway. And we used to sail. And then I got good at it. So I did that for a couple of years. Yeah. And then fast forward, fell out of love with that, sort of 21 years old. Wasn't good enough to make it to the top. Didn't have the discipline. Didn't want it. Wanted to go down the pub with the lads and
of course,
have some money.
Yeah.
So got a job. Ended up in the prison service.
Oh Jesus. Okay. I thought you were going to say ended up in prison.
No. Well, I worked in Feltham Young Offenders. Yeah, I worked in there for a little bit, and that was an eye opener. Yeah. Fast forward again, joined the police.
Oh Jesus. It just goes downhill.
Yeah. And then left. I didn't make it out of police training. I was invited to leave is the way to say it.
Nice.
Yeah, just messing around too much. So literally went home. What do I do? My brother was two para.
Okay.
He'd done about 2 or 3 years at the time.
Nice.
He said, join the military. I was like, okay. So I started like looking on the internet, seeing all these Gucci videos, went down to the careers office, came back, signed up to the Royal Marines.
Yeah.
And me and my brother went like that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Out, honestly.
Yeah.
He was like, wow. And I was like, the bloke down there was a bootneck.
Yeah. Usually the way.
Yeah, and I went, okay. But I had a look at it and I thought...
You want to piss off your brother?
Yeah. But as they say, the longest, hardest infantry training in the world.
Oh, well, I'll leave that to debate in the comments. But
but off I went, mate, and that was it. And back then you could join within like 3 or 4 months was the turnaround. You go and do what's called the PRMC, Potential Royal Marines course, get smashed around. Yeah. 3 months later, you're in. And I was hanging in there. I was quite a big lad, overweight, just been pissing it up for the last few years since I stopped sailing. Yeah. And I had to sort of get myself into shape and that's it, mate. So the story of joining the military for me was just winged it. Yeah. Just turned up.
Yeah, it was similar for me, I think, to be honest. I grew up in a Middlesbrough. If anyone ever Googles Middlesbrough, don't ever go there. But it was just, if I don't join, I know I'm going to end up in the prison or, just doing nothing. So I was like, all right, how do I get out? And it was the same, went to the careers office and the guy was also the same regiment I joined as well. So it was just, I think you get forced. I mean, everyone's told her, you join this and then you can become a pilot kind of thing. I don't know if it's the same when you join the Marines, but they were like, oh, do this and then you become a pilot and then, next thing you know, you're sweeping hangars.
Yeah, exactly. Tell you you're going to be an underwater knife fighter.
Yeah, wood welder,
yeah.
dolphin trainer. So it was quite a similar story. So just backtracking. So you were on the Olympic sailing team, or how that?
Yeah, it probably sounds better than it is, but back then, this is like late 90s, so the funding wasn't as big as it was now. Great Britain had done pretty well at some of the Olympic Games in sailing.
Yeah.
The 20 years that followed were massive. The names of Ben Ainsley, people that are just winning. So like that's who I was racing against. So I was up against, you're never going to get anywhere. Only one person would go to the Olympics, and I was way down the pecking order. But
that's still pretty good, though.
Yeah, I mean, I was in this. So it was the youth team. It was under 18s, and that's what I got selected for after 2 trials, the second or 3 trials, I think, 3 years. Got in, and I thought, okay, this is good. And I was pretty good when it was windy because I was a big physical lad. So I was good at handling the boat. I was crap at tactics, had no patience, no discipline. Back then, the coaching wasn't like the coaching would be now.
You were the George Foreman, basically.
Yeah.
Go in and hit people.
Yeah. And I, like I said, I could get around the course quite well when it's windy, but when it wasn't windy, I would throw my toys out the pram. I was immature. I just couldn't. I didn't. So I used to come in. I used to make excuses. I'd be out at a European event in Portugal, and I'd be doing badly. So I just came in, went out, retired, and made up an excuse. That's where I was at.
Yeah.
But when it was windy and I was good, I was up the front. I was really good. So I didn't have that discipline to kind of like make that transition. I was young. I was only a young lad.
Yeah. I remember when I was 20, I went sailing with the army. It was a week before my 21st birthday. We went to Solent, and we got there, and it was my only real sailing experience. We were on a boat called the Trocus. I was with Owen, the guy we just talked about off air, but there was 0 wind. So we were just basically motoring around. We had a race at the end with 20 boats motored. And, we were trying to get hold of oars and things like that so we could win this race. But there was a guy there from the army called Ray Olive, who was quite up. I don't know if you've ever crossed paths, but he's like one of the big instructors in the army now. And it made me hate sailing. I was like, why the hell would you do this if there's no wind? So I completely relate to that. Fast forward to today, I'm now starting to sail again personally. So in the summer I've got a few courses, so we're looking at doing that. More leisure than a competition though.
Yeah, it's difficult unless you know sailing. So the way to compare it, the boats we were sailing, the 49ers, is like a Formula One.
Yeah.
It's like going out in a Formula One or going out in a Ford Escort. It's a completely different entity. But like I said, massively privileged. I look back at it now with a bit of like embarrassment that the amount of money that went from sponsorships from my parents, and I just wasn't mature enough to do it. Yeah, but like I said, I made a call. It was probably about 2001, 2002. It was the winter. I stood outside with my dad. Bless him, he's not here anymore. And I just looked at him and just went, I don't want to do this. I was doing it for him for the last 6, 7, 8 months. And I was like, this is not, I'm not, I had to make this call. It's a big call, right? Turn around and just go, I'm done. And that was it. Literally done, finished, finito. And off I went.
Yeah, but I think that happens a lot. I mean, I played football as a kid, and I remember falling out of love with it because of the games I loved. And to this day, like I still play it. I love the training, especially now my body's falling apart, so I can't recover for the next session, let alone the game. But it's, you're going out, like the weather today, it's -2. There's training today, funnily enough. I'm going to go out. It's going to be -3 at night, put 2 hours in of a shift. And when you're a kid, especially, I think you can, especially because, you're at that age where you're discovering social life, you're becoming a man, you're learning all the other stuff as well. And I think that's a natural progression. And I think especially when you look at sports, the people who reach the top, I think, I remember listening to David Beckham, and I think Ronaldo said the same in football. And they said they were never the best kid in their class. They're just the ones who lasted the longest because everybody just started flaking away at like 15, 16. Ronaldo's best friend, I think he said, was way better than him as a kid, which tells you just flaked away or didn't get lucky with positioning or whatever. And I think it's a common thing. So you left sailing, then went through a few jobs, and then ended up in the Marines. How was that? Because I mean, I can see it's obviously every Marine I've ever met, it's like it's life to them.
No, do you know what? Well, you're talking to the complete opposite end of the spectrum.
Really?
There,
okay.
Yeah. I went in, like I said, because I'd lost my job and I fancied a bit of. Listen, I like challenges.
Yeah.
As this story progresses, everything I've done, I've achieved. Right, I have. If I want to do something, I'll do it. If I want to go to the pub, I'll go to the pub. If I want to do this, I'll do this. If I want to start a business, I just do things. Like I'm a doer. And I just looked at it and went, I fancy that. And they advertised it as the longest training, like I said, the most arduous training. I looked at it and went, that looks ninja. Yeah. I do fancy that. And I'll be honest, I didn't join the paras. Going back to that, I couldn't jump out of a plane.
Got it.
I'm terrified of heights. We was up one of the buildings last night, having a beer up on the rooftop, and I looked over the edge and just hated it. So heights, when we were rope climbing, coming out of helicopters, all that sort of stuff, biggest challenge for me because I shit myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just fancied it. I honestly just fancied it. And I say I winged it. I did a bit of preparation. I turned up. I like the physical aspect. And I turned up. And the hardest thing for me, being a little bit older, having come out of the prison service, bit cocky, being told what to do. I know that sounds obvious for military, but I just, bearing in mind I said I didn't have any discipline when I was sailing. I was a bit of a idiot at school.
Yeah.
And I just struggled. I could do the fizz. I could crawl around. I could do this. I just hated someone the same age as me or a year older, bollocking me, shouting at me, telling me. I really struggled. Younger, yeah.
I remember that from my basic because we had a friend there, who was a good friend of mine to this day, Keith Kimber. He was, I think, 26 when he joined, and I was 17, 18. So, a man coming in at 24 telling me what to do, I was fine with it. I'm like, okay, yeah, he's, my senior, whatever. But Kimber was older than our full screw corporal telling us what to do. Bombardier, I forgot his name now, it'll come to me, Meade. And he's like, I remember like there was kind of a square off and he's like, I can't handle you telling me what to do because he used to have his own company with 5 people before he joined the military. He's from like up in Aberdeen somewhere and it folded. So his was a similar thing. He was like, I wanted a challenge and like kind of just a way to go, but he's like, he just couldn't handle this younger guy with less life experience in the real world telling him what to do. And I think, that's also.
Yeah. But the thing is as well, back then, you don't realise the people that are trying to teach you what they're trying to teach you. They've just come off like Telic or something in Iraq. You haven't got a clue. I had no idea about the world. I didn't know what was happening. I just rocked up to be a Royal Marine and do this training. I had no idea, not a clue. So it was really hard for me to keep screwing up and keep my head down because I was like, it's just angry at everything. So I did it. I got through it, but dragged my way. Lads used to, I remember in the foundation block, it's the first 2 weeks in Royal Marines training, all together, like full metal jacket type thing. Lads, I remember this lad, he was 16 called Kyle. He actually passed out, 16 years old, it's mad. But he was looking to me going, what do we do? I was like, I don't know. Just I'm here with you, mate. Like, because I was 24, he was looking up to me and asking me what we should be doing. I was like, I haven't got a clue, mate.
Yeah.
I'm same as you.
Yeah. But I mean, looking back, I can only go on my experience here and my opinion, but I think basic training was my favorite part of the military because it's everybody's a headless chicken. You're all equal. Like, so once you go to phase 2 and you go onwards and go to your unit, there's always even within the rank structure, there's a pecking order. And I think that because it was just unorganized. I remember you must have done the washing machine in the block where they rip out everyone's lockers and then the 2 idiots who got you in the washing machine have to throw it all in the air. We'll be back in 10 minutes, put all your shit back in the lockers and we'll inspect again.
No, we'd throw out the windows, go and crawl around in the mud, come back in, that's what the hardest bit was.
Yeah, but I remember doing that and like everyone was just like with a smirk on their face because we did it yesterday, we did it the day before, and like you stop laughing eventually because it becomes normal, but you're still laughing inside. And we're talking about the stories years later. We're not talking about, a normal day sweeping the hangar, or something like that. I just think that for me personally, my basic training was the funnest part because it was just chaos.
You were young though, right?
Yeah, I was young.
And there's a correlation there. I remember, I can see guys' faces and I know their names. The ones who just loved it.
Yeah.
They loved it. I hated it to the point where the training team pulled me up halfway through training and said, we don't think you're suited to this because you're just like, no, there's no cheerfulness in the face of adversity. Mm-hmm. I was just like, this is shit.
Yeah.
and they pulled me up for it. But I remember the lads used to think it's hilarious. And I was like, this is not funny because you dickheads have done this and we've got to now suffer for it. That was what I was like. I was a nightmare.
I can imagine. I think there's 2 types of people. I had pretty much zero life experience. I worked at like an Asda warehouse for 6 months or something. And then I went into the army. So it was like, had no corporate lifestyle or structure or other organization like the police or prison service. When you finished basic, what happened then? Then because you were in for a while, right?
No, it wasn't 5 minutes. Yeah, 6 years I did, or 6.5 years. Yeah. I had a very varied career. Like I said, I went in with one goal, and that was to complete basic training, get a green lid, because it looked cool. Ninja. And I went, I've done that. What's next? I soon discovered I didn't want to be a soldier. Getting wet, being tired, I was like, nah. Yeah. I was looking at starting a family as well. My boy's 15 now, but yeah, I didn't fancy it. Went and did a few bits and pieces, maritime security, that sort of stuff. Somalia down to Kenya, civil war at the time. We had to extract a load of vehicles and whatnot out of Kenya, up in the NAG, usual sort of stuff. And I just came back from a deployment and just went, nah. This is when lads were doing maritime security and jumping because they were doing 400, 500 pound a day. And there was us getting sent out on 22 grand a year. Like, nah. So the buzzword was maritime security. Everyone go and do this.
It was in my industry as well.
Yeah, it was everywhere. I don't know what it's like now, but this was at a time when it was, piracy was huge. 2007, 8, 9, that sort of period. And and I just came back and I was just like, I'd done like 4 or 5 years at the time, and it wasn't for me. I went, time to move on. I want to do something. I get impatient and I get bored, and this is why I change job all the time. What's next? What's next? What's next?
Yeah.
And this is what I'm doing in business now, developing myself. So I moved and I went to leave, and I'd done like some PT qualifications. I was massively into phys. I really started enjoying the coaching and, nutrition and training and being strong in this. And I went, right, okay, I'm going to leave. Few conversations with seniors and whatnot. There was talk of being a PTI in the Corps. People get upset about that. Unless you are a PTI in the Corps, it's like, that's God standard.
It is, yeah.
But I wasn't a corporal. I hadn't done a juniors.
Got it.
And I was a signaller. So it was a case of, I went to do my aptitude, be a PTI. Yep, happy with that. Right, what's next? Well, you're not a junior. This is true, right? I'm going backwards and forwards at Lympstone Commando Training Centre between the PT wing and the signals department, signals wing. And I'm speaking to 2 different sergeant majors. Go back to the next one. This is in one day. I'm saying to him, yeah, you can go, but you've got to do a juniors. Right, who's going to give me the juniors? Well, the PT branch won't. SIGs have got to give it to me. Right, put me on a juniors then. Yeah, but then you need to do 2 years because we've just invested in you. And I'm doing this for a day, backs and forwards, honestly. And the thing is with me, mate, everything I've done in my life I've made happen. I do things. I'll go and I'll do it. I'm taking letters backs and forwards because they're just sitting there going, nah. Went back and someone said to me, go and join the Navy. And I laughed. I went, absolutely not. Absolutely not. 9 months later, there I am on a PT course in the Navy.
Oh, wow. So you transferred?
Yeah, jump ship, literally.
I think that's probably rare, isn't it, to go that way?
It wasn't. Do you know what?
Oh, really?
There was a couple of lads that had gone across and they had kind of started the trend of it. On my PT course in the Navy, which was 8 people, 4 were bootnecks.
Oh, really?
4 were bootnecks. One lad had just got back from Afghan with a big hole in his neck. Sergeant stood there to attention. On PT course in the Navy, playing the game. And once again, I struggled.
Oh, really?
I was now 30. I'd just done 6-7 years in the Corps, and I was like, who's this bloke here? Talking to me like this? I had that too
so
much.
You had to do basic again? Or?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, that'd be insane.
No, not down at Raleigh. You just go on to, you go to Temeraire, HMS Temeraire in Portsmouth, PT course. It's quite cheeky. Yeah. I mean, it's not Royal Marines PT. I'm not going to, even I've not done that, but it was hard work. Lots of running, and I was 16.5 stone.
Yeah.
I was in good shape, but I had to put some work in to be able to. We went on an aptitude run. I thought this would be a breeze. I've just done a PTI aptitude down at Lympstone. This will be an absolute breeze. I've been crawling around the bottom field and climbing ropes. Get down to Temeraire, day 1, out in the morning with this bloke, quite a big bloke, PTI that was taking us in the Navy. I thought, he can't run, no chance, I'll be all right. Jesus. Clever sausage, kept stopping every 5 minutes so he could catch his breath, smash us up and down the beach, up and down, doing bits and pieces. Then off he went on his jolly little run again. I was baggage, absolute baggage. It's just a run, but it was cheeky. And we did that for essentially 6 months, and it's hard work. And don't forget, this is with a body that's pretty broken. I've done a lot in that time. But yeah, got through that. Again, they pulled me into the office and was like, they wanted to, I didn't understand the structure. I knew the rank, but you had to call them all these weird and wonderful names. I was just like, I didn't get it. And I was too casual. I was like, yeah, that's right, no worries. They wanted me to stand to attention and do this. And it's cool. I was playing the game. Struggled, mate. Struggled with discipline.
I spoke to you about a friend of mine. He also went PTI in the army, Owen. And yeah, I mean, he's quite a casual guy. And I think he said something very, very similar. With the Army PT Corps, because they're all, David Beckham's, the fake tan, the hairs and stuff. I mean, it's going to be hard for you. But yeah, and he said, it's very hard because they want this like kind of image of pinnacle as well. I mean, even the way you do press ups, like they make you do it a little bit, arms wider out and stuff like that, elbows in, arms out, something. And it's kind of it's a press up, but cool. As you can tell, I was never really into phys in the army at all. But okay, so how long did you do in the Navy then?
Another 6 years, 7 years, yeah. So I did 14 in total. But the other reason I transferred was because, so at the time I got into indoor rowing, believe it or not, that's a sport. So indoor rowing, you've got world championships, British championships, there's all sorts, it's huge, and it still is to this day. And I just started doing some training on a rowing machine. I borrowed a machine from my mate who worked for British Rowing over leave, I think it was 2009, waiting in that transition period. And I sent the machine back to him, and he looked at the monitor and he went, "It's quite good, that." And I was like, "Oh, right, okay, is it?" Started doing a bit of research, picked up a few training plans, ended up at the British Championships.
Wow.
6-7 months later, found out there was a massive world. There was this huge indoor rowing. I was like, "Wow, this is cool." And I found my thing. I was like, "This is decent." All age categories. So I was in the Masters, 30 to 39. Ended up at 3 World Championships, all paid for by the Navy in Boston. I was like, "This is brilliant." And I knew this is in the transition period. So that was another catalyst for me going, I need to transfer, go to the Navy, don't get sent away on deployments, do some training, run around in a pair of shorts shouting at people. So I did. I rowed for like 3.5 years. World Championships, finished 5th. That was the year I wanted to get a medal. Cocked it badly. Ended up on oxygen at the end of that.
Oh, wow.
It's on YouTube, yeah. You can see at the end, I just full on collapse. Like I had to be picked up, and they tried to put me on, they put me on oxygen, and it was quite a dangerous, eye-opening experience.
It's a lick though, right?
Yeah, that's where I was at, mate, and I loved it. I loved that punishment. I loved the fact that I'm just making a wheel spin quickly with a little bit of technique, and at the end of the day, it's a pain competition. It's a fitness competition, and I just so invested in it. It took over my life for 3 years.
It's funny you say rowing, because do you know a guy called Disney? He was also a booty.
I know who he is, yeah.
Yeah, I know him very well. He's good. He lived at my house for a while.
He does those mad challenges, didn't he?
Yeah, well, he was living at my house. Well, not living, I mean, he was doing the world, traveling in a van type of thing. And he was at my house, and I'm like, "What the fuck's that?" And he pulled out this rowing machine that on his shoulders with a big padding. I said, "What's this?" And he said, well, most people go and he wanted to first climb the biggest peak of every country. He did that in Europe, I think. And now he's like, "Now I want to carry a rowing machine to the top and row 10K up there or something." And I'm like, "You're insane." He's like, "Yeah, I want to do it naked, but I think I'll get arrested." I'm like, just absolutely lovable guy. And then he climbed, there's a video of him doing, did you see the step climb?
I was about to say that.
Yeah, like slabs in someone's house. It's just
in
like
his garden. He created.
It wasn't his garden.
Was it not?
No, it was a friend's garden.
I remember watching it on the live feed. This is in lockdown, right?
Yeah.
And he was just going up and down. And I just...
And it wasn't Everest. It was the biggest in the solar system.
Right.
It wasn't Everest. It was like I don't know what it is, but the biggest mountain on the solar system was on, I want to say Mars. It might not be. But it was that mountain he climbed because it's bigger than Everest. And I'm like, you're just mad for it.
I remember watching that on the live feed, just, sort of watching him just eating with like popcorn, just watching this guy just go up and down at 3 steps, wasn't
Three steps up, 3 steps down.
Yeah.
And then he'd log it on a notebook.
Yeah. I've never been that way inclined in terms of challenges. I like challenges, but not like something.
Oh, he's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was at my house for about 2 months because the van he was in, the engine broke. And we've got a mutual friend up in Blackpool. And, he was in Budapest. So, we became friends that way. And, I mean, he is out there. He was at my wedding. He's like, "Do you mind if I bring my camera and make you a wedding video?" Why? Never edited one before. I'm like, yeah, go for it. And actually, that's the one we liked. Yeah. So, he is absolutely out there. I remember one day we were it was in the summer in Budapest, and I'm like, like this, we've got an old tree, and I'm like, yeah, it's just twigs falling all the time. And I come out in the morning, it's like 7 a.m. with a coffee. It's 25 degrees outside, and he's fucking pair of shorts up in the tree, cutting a tree down. I'm like, dude, you can't just cut a tree down. Like the full tree. He's like, so now I've basically got this tree with one branch in my garden, and all the other branches have been rinsed off from Disney.
Yeah. You find it in any like military, you must have had it. There's like one character in there.
Oh yeah.
That is pure morale, like because they're random as anything.
Yeah. He's a good egg.
Yeah.
But absolutely insane.
But yeah, those sort of challenges definitely not for me. But I was all about, like I said, rowing. I was the guy that in the military that just rowed. There was a team. There was like 15 people got sent out to America. It was a massive thing. Like I say, it still is. But that was it. It took over my life, and I was that was it. I was like, this is me. But over time, this is where I had my problems.
Yeah.
With which was health problems. Body started to just proper shut down. I was racing, trying to compete for a world championship, and I couldn't get out of my car in the morning because my hips and my back was so bad. I ended up with bilateral hip tears. I had double hip surgeries, stress fracture in my spine. I had 3 ankle reconstructions. This is all from just wear and tear. Fast forward, and this is where my story kind of comes from, and where my business comes from. Warrior Wellness Movement was my struggle and setback that I had in midlife, if you like. And I say to people, there was no glorious, war story. I ended up in military rehabilitation, which is Hasler Company down in Plymouth, which is the Naval Service Recovery Centre. And I was one of the few non-war injuries, which was, you get handpicked out of training, and at the time, handpicked out of service. And I didn't know this at the time. Handpicked out of service to end up in rehab is like, you've got quite a few issues, because it wasn't just physically. What it did to me mentally, it stopped my rowing career. I kept trying to make comebacks. I remember doing a 9-month deployment on ship in the Navy, doing anti-piracy, maritime security sort of stuff, counter narcotics, and I was just in pain for the other side of the world. Still trying to train, PTI on the ship, taking people for phys. And what it was doing to my mental health was, people with long-term injuries will know this. You've got something that hurts all the time. And I had hips, back, ankle. But I was still trying to behave like an athlete. I was the PTI. I was the pinnacle person on that ship for phys. And it just broke me. And I got drafted at 6 months from Bahrain. I got pulled off the ship, luckily, because they just drafted me. I just got an email one day, you're leaving the ship. I was like, fucking yes. And off I went. But then that was it. The next 18 months was just this enormous decline of health, because I was in agony, mate. Agony. Not like it hurts a bit. And what it did to me, it broke me. Absolutely broke me, to the point where my last Navy draft was down at Cold Rose in Cornwall. Should have been a brilliant draft. Wonderful location, amazing gym, great people. And I was depressed. My mental health was just so affected, because I couldn't do it. I couldn't sit at my desk. I had to try and kneel, and then I got a stand-up desk, and lads used to piss around and take the batteries out, so I couldn't put it up and down and that. But I was depressed, mate, and I didn't know at the time, but I was in a bad way. And all these years of abuse on the body, from Raw Marines training, from PTI, from rowing, it broke me, because I couldn't do it. Started to drink, started to gain weight. It was just a shit to be around. And it got to the point where, for the first time, I had to go to the doctor, and just literally had a breakdown. Just sat in front of this doctor and cried my eyes out. And she was just like, what's going on? And I was like, help me. It was mad. And what I talk about with what I do, that trauma and adversity is subjective. You can never look at someone and just go, what's wrong with them? Get a grip. We use that term so much in the military. Get a grip, get on with it, man up. And I'm all up for hard approach with many things. But what I've learned is, I just had a few injuries, but it completely destroyed me. So the doctor sent me off on sick leave. And this is the day that I had my senior by the scruff of the collar. Yeah. I was like, I'm going to end up in Colchester here. And I was like, I'm in the shit. So it wasn't a get out clause, but I went to the doctor, had a full on breakdown, and she signed me off on sick leave. And I remember going back to my chief, and she was like, what, you've been signed off sick? And I was like, yeah, fucking have, I told you. I was like, I told you I was not well. And they signed me off sick with, she said, what you been signed off for? And I remember saying to her, none of your business. Yeah. But, it was, what was it? It was stress, I think. Yeah. Off I went. 4 days later, I got a phone call. Right, report to Hasler. I was like, what's that? Hasler, it's the Royal Marines Rehabilitation Unit in Plymouth. I was like, all right. And off I went and turned up at Hasler as a patient. And I was just like, my head was just like, I was a PTI, and I was suddenly the patient in this care unit.
For average people.
Yeah. It was mad. I rocked up, and there's blokes with legs missing, there's blokes with cancer. One lad, he'd gone blind. There was a special forces officer in there who'd had a stroke, was walking around just completely. And I was like, oh my God, please don't ask me what's wrong with me. Yeah. I've got a bad ankle. Yeah. But what it does to you mentally,
I can imagine. I mean, especially with, I think something like the PTI Corps, but the Marines as well and the Paras, I think it's, and some of the other regiments, it's like, you are the best. So it's mentally breaking you, especially if you've done well in rowing or a sport. It's going to mentally, like, you shouldn't be here. This is where everybody else goes kind of mentality.
It's weak to ask for help. Yeah. And this is it. And it's this stigma that it's taken me a long time to understand. And like I said, what I didn't know at the time was that was going to be the foundations of my business. But yeah, honestly, it was a crazy time, and I was in there for 2 years. But the story goes, after about 6 months, I kind of just had this light bulb moment. And I've talked about this on my podcasts, that I think I'd gone up to Headley Court so from one rehab unit to Headley Court, which was the primary rehab unit in the country at the time. I think it's up in Loughborough now, and or Nottingham. Yeah, I went up to Headley Court for a 4-week intensive course. So I'm now away from home again. I'm with a load of bootnecks on the same spinal course or hips course or whatever. We just went on the piss. Throw a load of squaddies or bootnecks in the same room together, that all threaders that are all pissed off. Mate, we were going out every night, absolutely steaming. Nobody wanted. You're in that defensive mode of just angry and oh, I shouldn't be here. And you've gone from the pinnacle of whatever you're doing in your respective trade, military. So we just went out on the piss. Well, I was turning up the next day, stinking of booze. Lunchtimes, we were going to the pub, thinning out, skipping afternoon rehabs because it was civvies, that'd be right. We were a nightmare, and we did that for a month until on the last week, one of the physios just got a grip of me, and then just looked at me like I was an absolute dick, and just went, "What are you doing?" And I was just big belly on me, stinking of booze, just not looking after myself, looked like an absolute pot mess. And at that moment, I was like, it was this turning moment where I just went, "What am I doing?" And I went back to Hasler, and I was just a different person. I was now remember I said about being a doer? Mm-hmm. I'm sorting myself out.
Yeah. It's amazing, that light bulb moment, because someone probably said that to you numerous times throughout your career. And the same with me. I mean, I think everybody, especially when you become an entrepreneur, because I remember looking back with myself and thinking, why did I do this? Why did I do that? Why did I leave the army? So when I joined the army, it was different to you. I was like, I need to get out. I'll go do 22 years as long as I'm away from where I'm from. And I found out quickly I didn't want to be a soldier as well. But I didn't know what else to do, and there was the maritime thing, the buzzwords around go and do, be a contractor in Afghan and all this stuff. And I had a light bulb moment like that as well. Although that light bulb moment I'd seen, so mine was basically, I seen the pay structure in the army. And I remember seeing, if I break my body and get to Warrant Officer 1, level 8 or whatever it was, which is impossible. But let's say I was a warrant officer for 8 years, I'd earn 60 grand a year. And I'm like, that's still not a lot of money. And I signed off, but I'd seen that pay structure hundreds of times before. I just seen it one day in a different light. And I think that's the same, but it's good that I think everybody can trace back the change moment. Yeah. Yeah. So then you had this moment.
Yeah. And I needed it. And like I said, whether that would have come at another point, I don't know, but it happened. And Hasler was brilliant, and I'd never knock it, but it also had many, many flaws. And again, I've spoken about this on my podcast, that I'd like to think it's better now. This is 7 years ago, but it was great, and it did its job, but there were so many things missing from it. The mental health thing was there. You had psychotherapists, you had cognitive behavioral therapy, NLP, all sorts of weird and wonderful therapists, which was great. But they were just missing this one thing, and it was this mindfulness and wellness thing, which again leads on to what I ended up doing. But I just started doing things. I was like, right, I'm probably going to get medically discharged. I've probably got a year or two, and I've got lots of surgeries to have. I just had my second ankle surgery, my first hip surgery. And I just started writing to, I thought, what do I want to do? Well, I'm a strength and conditioning coach. That was my trade. That was my background. That's what I'd done in the military. I'd done loads of courses. I was all up for, I was that guy constantly on the chief's door or the warrant's door. Can I spend the next bit of money on this? Can I get a course? And I was just trying to get as much as I could, nutrition, coaching, PT, strength and conditioning. So I was like, well, that's what I do. So I need to go and do something that I enjoy and that I love. So I wrote to football clubs. I wrote to Exeter, all the Southwest clubs, Yeovil. I wrote to Plymouth. And I basically said, I'll come and work for you for free, because Hasler would let you go and be productive if that was your thing. And the other thing that was important was, and again, I've spoken about this, removing toxicity from your life. So in Hasler, you got one of the ways one of two ways to go. The lads who are just threaders sat there doing nothing in the gym, just like on a Bosu ball, just chatting to each other, on cycling on a bike and just spinning dits and talking about how shit life is. Or you got the doers, the people who were like training, doing their rehab, being productive, wanting to do stuff. So I suddenly switched groups. I switched to the doers group, and I was looking at the people around me. My old PTI from training was in there. Big bloke, ex-special forces guy. He was like the epitome of this Royal Marine, big sergeant. And I was like, what's he doing? Right, he's sorting his life out, cutting his own detail. There was that special forces officer, just had a stroke. Funny story about him. We went down to the Hard in Plymouth, went out paddleboarding one afternoon, go and do some adventurous training, recreational training, whatever you want to call it. And like, we're all going out on these paddle boards, all, broken people. And this guy turns up, and I didn't know this at the time, right? Because he tried talking to me, but he had a stroke, and I couldn't understand a word he was saying. He was massive. He was bigger than me. And he was like this, walking around because he'd had a stroke all down his left side. His face had gone, and he used to just shout stuff really loud and just laugh at his own jokes. And I was just like, who's this guy? It's like military humour. I was just like...
Keep him around.
Mate, we had people like with Tourette's coming in. That's another story. But this guy turns up down the Hard, and I was like, fuck's he going to do? Like, he can hardly walk. So they put him on this sit-down paddleboard, if you like. We're on the stand-up ones, or this canoe. And like, I remember helping him. He was massive, big, quite overweight. Stuck him onto this board, and we pushed him out. And we're all just like, what's he going to do? Because he was like trying to paddle. And he just slow motion just went, splash, and just toppled off into the water. And I was like, he's going to drown. And the PTI, who was the instructor, not a patient, kind of put his arm across, just went, wait. And there he just submerged really like casually and patiently, took a breath, got back onto the board like this seal, just wobbled back on and just paddled off into the distance. And I went, who's that? And they went, oh, he's a major in the Special Forces. And I went, right,
he's
calm as you like.
Out.
Yeah, calm as you like. But yeah, off he went. So we had the doers in the group, and that was him. So I started looking at these people and going, right, that's what I need to be doing. So I started doing my rehab properly, the stuff that I knew from being a strength and conditioning coach, the stuff that the physios had given me. And then, like I said, I wrote to football clubs, and I went, right, I'll come and work for you for free. Didn't get a response, wrote again. Extra invited me in. Went and did some stuff with the academy, like on a Thursday night with the kids. And I thought, no, I'm better than this. I'm better than this. I'm a professional strength and conditioning coach with years of experience. I don't want to be working like with the academy lot, which were, I was like, no. So I wrote to Plymouth again. I think I made a phone call. And the physio got back in touch with me. The physio was ex-Navy.
Oh, okay.
I was like, here we go. So he invited me in, had a chat, met the manager, went and watched training. And the manager said to me, what can you do? What can you do for us? And I went, I'll come and do some strength and conditioning sessions for free. Don't worry about it. No, I'm in the military. Long story short, I ended up getting a contract out of it because I kept showing up. And it was funny, mate. He told me, come in on a Tuesday afternoon. You can take the first team for strength and conditioning. There was no structure to what he wanted. I mean, that's another story. It was an absolute disgrace how that football club was run. League One football, on the back of a fag packet. You've never seen anything like it, honestly. I was like, you're joking. This is mad. But I kept turning up. So then Tuesday became I turn up on a Thursday. And then I turn up on a Monday. Within 3 weeks, I turned up on match day in the dressing room, started handing out bottles. Well, lads, come on in, come. Bottles. Then I started cleaning the bottles. Before you know it, I was there every day. And I said to Hasler, I think I can get a job out of this. And they said, as long as you do your rehab, as long as you're happy, as long as you reach out for us if you need us, boom. And that was it. I used to just go every day to Argyle. Started getting on away games. End of the season, I pulled the gaffer and I went, black and white. I went, can I have a job? He went, yeah. And he offered me a contract. And that was it. And I was in. So I took medical discharge and off I went.
But I think there's something in that though as well. I think, I was having a conversation with somebody who, you get these emails from like generic marketing emails, let's say, or messages on LinkedIn, then you'll get a follow-up, then you'll get another follow-up. And I'm like, there's something, I think there's ways you can follow up. Like if you called them, I think the Exeter thing with the academy, they probably just did that. Let's just fucking give them something and get them away. If you'd have kept turning up at Exeter, they'd eventually had to listen, right? Or lock the doors. But, they don't want to lock the doors to a big booty. You know what I mean? So I think there is something about showing up as well. And I think that's also, like you said, with a doer mentality, is just, you know, I have the phrase being unflushable. A turd that won't flush. If you stick around long enough, they'll have to figure out a different way to get rid of you.
That's it. And you'll know this from your successes. You just said it there, keep showing up. If you believe in something and you've got passion with something, it's like if you believe in your product, you're going to get rejected. I got rejected. Yeovil never got back to me. But I found a little, as soon as I had a foot in the door, you ain't getting rid of me. I'm going to be there. And just grabbing opportunities.
Yeah.
Every opportunity, grab it. And I was just like, it's like having courage or balls of steel. Just get in there, do it. I said, I turned up in the dressing room.
Do you know the quote, if opportunity doesn't knock, build a door? And I think that's like a good example of what you've done there. It's like, you know, you didn't know where you wanted to go. You knew what you wanted to do roughly, but there was no like, you know, there's no one's, when you leave the army or the military and you've got like this kind of like, you know, people are offering you, you can go do a crane driver course or a forklift course or do whatever and all that stuff.
Tree surgery.
Yeah, like there's all these courses. I mean, I remember booking myself onto a crane driver course and I had like zero interest in it when I was leaving. I'm like, eventually I didn't go. I'll give it to actually, you know, shameless plug. I paid for the course and sent a friend of mine, and he got qualified. And he's a crane driver to this day. He's welcome. But I think like there's no real guidance, and I think that, you know, people today especially are more, I want to do this. And I'm like, well, what are you doing to do it? You're being persistent. You're sending out email. You're building that door to get opportunity to knock. And again, when the door opens, you have to run through it. And yeah, I think that's quite a good story in itself.
But I look back at you know, the time in Hasler in rehab, and yeah, those lads who weren't doing anything. And listen, I know that they were low. I know that they were threaders, because guess what? I was there as well. I just happened to have that moment, that switch, that difference. And maybe that is a difference in personality. Maybe that's not for everyone. But I was looking at lads and thinking, you've got an opportunity here. You're in rehab. You've got all this support. You've been told you can go and find things to do. And there were people doing it. But I remember I used to, before I started going to Argyle every day, I'd still be going to Hasler for maybe a quick rehab session first. Lads would be like, where have you been? I've not seen you. And I'd be like, I'm making things happen. I'm out of it. I'm not staying in this environment. So yeah, that was it. Got a contract and off I went.
I think there's something in that as well. I think, you know, with the light bulb moment, I think everybody has it. It's just sometimes you're not willing to listen. And I think people get in their own thoughts too much. You know, we're looking for a web developer for our app, right? For example. And there's a young kid here I play football with. I love him. He's like a little brother. And just left university, fully qualified, does exactly what I want. Look, he got offered a contract working for the government on very low pay, but like first mommy and daddy need him to go do an office job, right? So I said, go do that part-time. I'll give you the same salary. So you're getting double salary, right? And work for me just one day a week on a Saturday. Because I didn't need much work at this. And then slacked off a little bit. And then I'm like, okay, look, 3 months went by. I said, right, this isn't working. I'll double your salary, quit your job, or I have to remove you and get someone else. And in the end, why can't I do both? Because you're not doing the Saturdays anymore. You're not doing what I need you to do. And I had a beer with him a couple of days ago, and he's in this like the light bulb moment. I'm trying to give it to him. You know, he's 22, like he's very young. I'm like, dude, you've got an opportunity here to, you know, if you go down this path of working at this company, look at the people around you. They've been there 20 years, same salary as you. I said, you know, it's dead man shoes promotion, or you got this opportunity here, which is fine if you want to go that route, but you told me you hate that job as well. So what does it take, you know? And it wasn't about money. And I think some people are just wired and not willing to listen to that moment where it rings true, you know? And we were in a table, so like 7 or 8 guys were all like, why isn't he taking this? This is insane. And I think you just can't get through to some people at certain points. They have to, I mean, when you had your moment, I think you were looking for it as well. You were looking like, what is next? You know, and I think also having people around you, like the guy in the canoe, who inspire you.
That's it, isn't it? It's like this inspiration by looking, just like getting your head up, and having a look around and seeing what's available, because you get lucky breaks in life, of course you do, but you have to go and find things. You have to go and make your own luck. Yeah. And like I said, I started at the beginning of this podcast, I said, I'm a doer. I do things. Yeah. Everything I've set out to do, everything, I've achieved it. Sailing, well, I wanted to sail. I went to World and European Championships, prison officer, police officer. Yep, I fancy that. I fancy that. Royal Marines, fancy that. Royal Navy, fancy that. Went into surveillance after that, fancied that. Everything I did. So,
but I mean, even every little thing you've talked about, people will spend a whole lifetime in that career and still not feel fulfilled. You know, so I think there's something to be said, and that always looking for the next challenge. So with the journey now, what is the mission? What is the company doing?
Well, so Warrior Wellness Movement, it's worth noting how it came from. This story I've just told you, this is where my business came from without me realising it. Because when I joined football, it got worse because I ended up losing my job. Team got relegated after the second season I was there. Manager gets sacked.
You're out.
It was carnage. Yeah. It was carnage. So off I went, and my contract didn't mean anything. Off I went, got sacked on holiday on a 20-second phone call to the new manager, having put a lot of work in behind the scenes trying to secure contracts for GPS. It was horrible. But, you know, looking back at it again, I thought when I moved into football, it's like celebrity status. This is brilliant. Away games, going to Sunderland, big clubs, bigger than Middlesbrough.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I loved it. I loved it. Sitting on the bench, you know, Portsmouth away, Dockyard Derby. It was like, wow. And I love football. I thought this is brilliant. The novelty started to wear off when I realised I was away more than I was when I was in the Marines. Every weekend. I mean, Plymouth's a long way to go. When you're doing Plymouth to Sunderland, that's a long outing. Even just going to a Midlands game,
especially if you lose the way back's horrible.
Yeah, carnage. True story, right? This is what I said about. I said about League One football, and this is the state of the club. My job as the strength and conditioning coach was to order Domino's pizza, right? It's a tradition in football. Most clubs do it, apparently. After the game, on the bus, everyone has a Domino's pizza. You know, I tried to change that. I didn't go down too well. So stick with tradition, right? So my job was to phone up and order the pizza. I got given the club credit card and off you go. The game before the manager got sacked was away to Accrington Stanley.
Who were they?
Exactly.
No one will get that.
I think I'll go with some people's head. Not old enough or young enough. Yeah, so we're losing 5-0. We lost 5-0, and it was like, I remember the manager on the bus afterwards refused to come off and do press, and I remember thinking, that's not good. You're gone. And although he gave me a contract, he was a very strange character. When we were winning, he was great, obviously. When we were losing, it's a true test of your leadership. You know, I'm coming from military backgrounds like we do. I wouldn't have followed him to Tesco, let alone anywhere else. He was shocking. Leadership skills and I'd come from the military and seen some unbelievable leaders in high pressure environments, but he was a different character, and he distanced himself from the rest of the staff. We never knew what was going on. There was never once a staff meeting in 2 years. He took us once to a coffee shop in Plymouth. Just got hold of all the coaching staff. It was about 4 or 5 of us. Took us to a coffee shop, and I thought, we've lost 10 on the bounce. He's going to have a word with us and go, right, this is what we need. And we all just sat there in silence. Nobody knew what to say. For half an hour drinking coffee, and then off we went. He was a different creature. Go back to the Accrington Stanley games. We sat on the bench. The 5th goal goes in. So remember I told you about the pizza. I ordered the pizza. 5th goal goes in. He turns around to the first team coach, who turns around to me, who I'm sat on the bench with the lads, and he comes up to me, the first team coach, and he goes, the gaffer's just said, go and cancel the pizzas. Oh, sorry, what? And the lads on the bench, they've heard it, and they're like, sorry, what? Go and cancel the pizzas. Because that was his way of getting back at the players, because we're losing 5-0, so I'll cancel their pizzas. Yeah. And I was like, you're joking. So off I went, trudged down the touchline, 5-0 down, past all the Argyle supporters, all shouting abuse at me. Brilliant. Went into the dressing room, got my phone out, and one of the lads had just been substituted. Now, this lad he was an older chap. He had played for Man United, he played for Norwich in the Premiership. He was at the end of his career, so playing for League One football. So he played at some big clubs. And I stood in front of him on the phone to Domino's Pizza. I said, yeah, it's Ollie Osborne from Plymouth Argyle. Yeah, cancel the pizzas. And he's just looking at me like, have you gone mad? And that was the manager's way of punishing us all and punishing the players for losing. It was off the scale. Yeah,
it should have been something already preset. Like, if you win, you get pizza. You know, but yeah, like, I mean, when my thing is on, so I've got some friends who are in the Premier League, let's say, or around there, and I'm very good friends with somebody here. I'll tell you his name off air, but he went to one of the top 5 teams in England. He wasn't a first choice player when he was there, and he went from the Championship there. And I was talking to him a couple of weeks ago, and I said, "Why didn't it work out for you, mate?" He's retired now, and he said, "When I got there, he stopped drinking. Like he went all in. He went all in to try, and he knew he was never going to be the number 1, so he's always like the number 3 or 4. But he's like, if I can get to 2, that was his goal. Like it wouldn't have took much, to be honest. Like given the team he'll understand when I tell you later. But he'd probably be on the podcast eventually. I don't want to throw him under a bus. But he said that when he got there, the clubs he was at before, he always resonated with the coaches and staff. And when he got to Liverpool, which was the team, I'll drop that in. He said that the coach who'd been there for years, decades, just didn't click. And then he had a horror moment on one of the cup games. And he said that afterwards, the manager came to him and stuff. But when he went to train the next day, the coach, the specific coach of what he was looking at, he was a goalkeeper. So the goalkeeping coach, right?
We're narrowing it down
now. I need to stop. But he said the goalkeeping coach, like really nice lad, really good thing, but like they never really clicked or got on. And I remember saying, I'm like you've had this nightmare because of not okay, you're the one who take the blame, but like because of your training, really, and the focus and the players are trained at the end of the day, and it's the same. Like if you want to win rowing, you're only as good as the training you put in and the staff who are teaching you, right? So I think that, my thing is, I'm like, that was mental to me, that in your worst, darkest moment, there was nobody there, and I'm a Liverpool fan. So like, I found it really hard to understand because, and he said like the good friends with the coach and stuff like that. It's just like, there was obviously a pecking order and he was quite far down. And I think that going back to the cancelling of pizzas and stuff, I think that's what separates the managers. And I think, to be honest, more people from the military should go into football.
100%. This is it, right? It's all about leadership and man management, right? You could have all the tactics and be the best at everything, but you've got to manage a group of players, which is difficult, I get. But think about our military background. The sergeant majors are managing a group of individuals and then they're using their hierarchy in the system. He didn't use the hierarchy, i.e. the first team coach, the assistant manager, the goalkeeping coach, and me as a strength and conditioning coach, as he should have done. He was a dictator. He tried to do it himself, and it backfired massively. And we've seen it. I mean, I'll tell you, look who the manager was at Argyle in 17-18. It's not hard to work out, but he was such a strange character. He really was. I'll tell you another one, right? I reckon I would have got sacked if he hadn't have got sacked. I reckon he would have sacked me, and I'll tell you why. It's like, they always say in football, don't cross the gaffer, don't cross the manager, he'll get rid of you, he'll sell you. And it's no different with the staff. So we never had set working hours. It was never in the contract, but it was an unwritten rule, 8:30 till 4:15, right? Monday to Friday. But the players were gone by 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock, because you train in the morning, sometimes do a bit of gym work with me, and off you go. We've lost 20 games or something. It's the winter, it's February, it's cold, it's wet. We're about to travel at the week on Tuesday, or we've got a game. We're knackered. The staff are exhausted because we're up and down the country all the time. All the players have gone. I think it was a Wednesday afternoon, and we're all sat there in the office. Gaffer goes out the room. We always to share an office, and we start mucking around. This is the staff, goalkeeping coach, assistant manager, throwing paper at each other, just messing around. He would come back in and we're all like pretending to work because we're all scared of him. Nobody wanted to talk, Yeah. He left the room again. I thought, sod this. Why are we sat here doing absolutely nothing? I've done all my work. I've prepped all my sessions. There's not a single player at the club. Why are we all sat here? And we're all having this discussion. I thought, fuck this. Balls of steel. I'm going to go and ask. So he walked out of the room. So I went and followed him. I said, Gaffer, I said, look, I'm up to date. I've got my stuff ready for tomorrow. I've done this. I said, you're right if I just thin out, 45 minutes early, so I can do the school run. Now, remember in the military, if you've got nothing to do, if you've got a good sergeant major, he's like, lads, thin out, off you go, disappear, see you tomorrow. Look after your men. Look after your people. They will work for you. Yeah. So I thought I'd try it. Oh, boy. He looked at me like I'd just gone round his house Christmas Day and pissed on his kids. Honestly, I was like, wow. I just, and he said, why? You're here to work. You're here to work. And I was like, but Gaffer, I've there is no work. I've done, what do you want me to do? And I tried to have this conversation with him because no one wanted to have the conversation with him. Oh boy, did it go. Off he went. I went back in the office and everyone was like, how'd you get on? And I was like, I think I've just lost my job. So that weekend on Saturday, we had Peterborough at home. Lost 3-0, I think. Peterborough at home. So there's me in the dressing room before the game, like I am every single game, making sure lads have got what they want, energy bars, water. Lads, do you need anything? Do you need any help with anything? I'm just like the little dog's body on match day. I'm there to help the players. Always stay around them, warm them up on the pitch, come back in with them, help them and stretch him. He's just about to give his team talk, which, by the way, was the same team talk for 2 seasons. I could have given it, right? That's what we're talking about. There's no tactics, same team talk. And just before he started, he went, he goes, Ollie, don't need you, leave the room. And of course the room's like, what's going on? So he kicked me out of the dressing room, right? Oh, fucking hell, I knew it. So I went out and just started waiting. Anyway, one of the lads hadn't come out the physio room for the team talks, hadn't started. So he went running, the door opened when someone went to go and get another lad. I thought, sod this, I'm going back in. So I sneaked back into the dressing room, had my head down and just started filling up water bottles and doing something. And he kicked me out for a second time.
Oh, jeez.
So when we went out onto the pitch to warm the players up, they're all pissing themselves laughing, going, what have you done? What have you done? And I went, boys, I'm sacked. I'm gone. He hates me. Yeah. And that was it. And this is what I mean by leadership and management. It was mad.
Yeah, I mean, I always remember, just Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp, because when he took over, we didn't have the best team at all. And, he came in, he basically brought a team and he said, I'm not a coach, so I need a coach. I'm not this, need this. And then when he left, there was a big, because a lot of them left at the same time. There was this like an hour long where they're all just sat on a couch, the guys leaving and just talking, and you can see they're friends. Like, and I think, Bill Shankly, who was at Liverpool as well, he had a thing called the boot room. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. So that, I think Brendan Rodgers Kenny Dalglish brought it back on his second term. And it's always been in and out the boot room. I don't know if Klopp did it or if Slot's doing it now. Probably not. They've named one of the concourses after it, where you, like, for the VIPs. The boot room is basically what Shankly used to do in Paisley. He used to get all his staff in, where they used to dry the boots out when it was wet. It used to stink of sweat, and you can imagine, it's like an airing cupboard, right? But he put some benches in there, and they used to drink whiskey after the game and talk about how good the game was, how bad it was. And just as friends drinking whiskey and get pissed in this sweaty, stinking boot room. And it became a tradition for Liverpool for like 20 years. And by the way, them next 15 years were the most dominant Liverpool have ever been. And I think that famous story is just because his coaching staff, players will come and go, but the coaching staff, even when Shankly left, Paisley, who was already there, there's a famous picture of Paisley carrying a player off because I think he was actually the physio as well. And then he became the manager, and he was the most successful Liverpool manager of all time. So I think there is something there with the consistency, and you can only have that if you treat your staff as good. Because not just that, look at it this way, right? If you stayed on at Plymouth and the manager stayed on, and that continued for 5 or 6 weeks, you tell me the players aren't going to look at you different and listen to you when you say stretch, and then they'll get injured. So yeah, I think that, and this is what I was saying. I was talking, because I play amateur football here. It's like 5th division or something, and I'm retiring at the end of the year. I'm like, I can't keep up. There's 19-year-olds coming in every 2 weeks to the team from the youth team, and I just can't train and recover. Like 2 trains a week and a game, I'm just not recovering. So I'm calling it a day. It's really hard. And I was like, maybe I'll do coaching. I don't have time to do that anyway, but I started looking into it. I looked into even buying a club here, to be honest, and that's kind of on the cards right now. Or
do you need an
to
S&C
it
coach?
Yeah, well, I don't. I love Football Manager, right? So if I buy the club, I can't get sacked. But I've really looked into it and stuff, and I don't want to be a manager. That's what I've realized, because I think that the problem you've got is, the more I look into it, is you never get, if you become a coach, the assistant manager's job, they're always going to be transitioning. It's very hard to find someone who's happy being number 2 and good at being number 2. And if you just look at like Arteta, or someone like that, who was underneath Pep, could have been the most successful assistant manager of all time, but no, he wanted to be number 1. You look at Pep Linders under Jurgen Klopp, like all the great number 2s eventually want to be their own man. So I think that, and I think like I need, even with my business, I need a partner who's going to help, for me anyway, at least, like, look, mate, I can't do this. Can you do this? Or what do you think of this? And I think that, but that comes to the leadership and the core. Like your sergeant major will trust his staffies.
Yeah.
The staffies will trust the corporals. And
this is it. You said about that military has so many amazing leaders, which should be for obvious reasons because of the conflicts that we've been involved in from doing arduous shit is probably the word to use. But you get military coming into football clubs, you don't need to know about tactics. I've seen it.
You don't.
You can have your coaches to talk about tactics, to be individual, to be specific. You need to manage a group of people. And this is what was difficult for me. I came into the club and I was the link between the management and the players. So I'm kind of like, I hold a bit of authority, but I'm one of the lads.
Yeah.
And what was really difficult, and this was so tough, was in the second season when we lost 10, 12 games on the bounce, bottom of the table, fans are calling for the manager's head. It's toxic. It's horrible. I'm with the players in the morning, warming them up, doing all my stuff and having the bants. And they're asking me questions and I'm lying through my teeth to support the manager because I don't want to start going to the players, oh yeah, he's an idiot. I have to say, no, lads, come on, do what he wants you to do and all this. But I'll be seeing outrageous decisions being made in terms of not looking after the players, what they were being asked to do. For example, if we won a game, right, and this is what happened in the first season, we finished 3 points off the playoffs. I joined the club bottom of the table, right, as a volunteer. Had a big impact. I did. Players messaged me that left that season. Big players that left went to championship clubs. And well done, Ollie. Brilliant what you did. I came in, I started changing things. Hydration levels, doing piss tests, looking after players, strength and conditioning, nutrition, the basic stuff. And we ended up finishing with a bit of good fortune, 3 points off the playoffs. But that link I had between the players was really, really difficult. So in the second season, when we're doing really, really badly, he used to message me. The gaffer used to message me on a Sunday night, or I used to message him, Gaffer, what's the plan in the morning? Because as the staff, we haven't got a clue. And what I'm asking him, if we've won the game, he used to let me take them into the swimming pool, do hydrotherapy, recovery, have a laugh. They're jumping all over each other, doing some stretching, morale's through the roof. That's going to create good performances and results. If we lost at the weekend, one, he used to sometimes bring them in on a Sunday, which was carnage, because he wouldn't let people go home. We're in Plymouth at the bottom of the country. That was his way of punishing them. Staff had to come in as well. So sorry, can't see the family. Do you imagine that toxic environment, that resentment? So Sunday,
it should have been the other way around.
Yeah, Sunday night, I used to have players messaging me going, what are we doing Monday? In other words, are we in the pool or are we on the pitch? And because we were losing every single week, he stopped me taking them in the pool to recover them. And he would take them on the pitch where he would say, I don't need you, Ollie, just warm them up. And he thrashed them. He would thrash them up and down the pitch doing drills, football drills.
Which brings morale down.
Boys have played on Saturday, they're hanging out. People start getting injured. Mate, it was carnage. It was absolute carnage. This is what I did for our goal, right? I spent £500 of my own money, which I got back, but on my credit card, to get a machine, right? So a sports science machine, it tests for creatine kinase, which basically tells you how fatigued you are in the muscle from a simple blood test. So every Monday morning, I used to get lads in, take a little blood sample, run it through the machine, test fatigue. I used to give that report to the manager, who just went, thank you. And that was it. And off he went. Didn't pay any attention to it. One of the lads, right, really, really good lad, good professional, 33 years old. I was saying to him week after week, he's at risk, Gaffer. He's at risk because his levels are so high. He's fatigued. He was, I'll tell you, he was a Jamaican lad, so he had very fast twitch muscle fibers, right? So he fatigues very easily, super fast at sprinting, explosive, dynamic, but he will be at risk because his muscles are fast twitch muscle fibers. He ended up tearing his rec fam out for the season, and I'm like, told you. But what was the point of me buying that machine to give you that detail?
Yeah,
Mate, it was carnage. Anyway, so football, yeah, it was an eye opener. But what it made me realise is, at the time, this is what I was saying. I thought, this is me. This is my career. I'm going to be in football.
Yeah,
the novelty wore off. That was carnage. It was a car crash, and I went, I'll never ever do that again.
Yeah,
ever.
Okay, so any football manager watching this, then he's not open to it.
No, absolutely not. Listen, lads used to say to me, it's not the same across all the clubs. You know, these are boys that have been at season pros, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably true as well. I mean, I've done the ring myself, and it comes down to management styles as well. I think you got coaches and you got managers, and the two separate things.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what's the focus now? I mean, you're in Budapest currently.
Yeah, so I've been talking this week with a corporate company, delivering what is essentially my success strategy framework for what I do at Warrior Wellness Movement. So my business was built off adversity, trauma, comeback, my blueprint that I created to get me back to health and fitness after the struggles that I told you about, being in rehabilitation, losing my job, all this sort of stuff. So I created this coaching business, which is an online holistic health transformation coaching service, if you like. It's taking people, which is largely veterans, and bringing them back to health. And the message that I deliver is I use this framework, which is the holistic approach to health, wellness, and performance. So coming from the strength and conditioning that I told you about, coming from the raw marines, stacks of smoke, straight down the middle, very aggressive lifestyle, I'm now very much into the holistic approach to health, wellness, and performance, which is taking people, largely veterans or busy executives, CEOs of companies that are busy, that are overweight, that are unhealthy, that are not moving, and bringing them back to wellness. And that key word wellness, which is obviously in my in my title of my business, it's wellness. We can all go to the gym a little bit. We can all move a little bit. We can all meet. It's not enough. It's not enough. Being healthy, making good decisions with food, it's not enough. It's this whole holistic approach to how you approach your life, with mindfulness, with breathing, with exercise, with something that you enjoy doing, stress levels at work, business, this sort of stuff. So yeah, I created this business, and it's now not even a year old. The project is 18 months old, but I made Warrior Wellness Movement this time last year. In fact, about 10 months ago, 11 months ago, and it's just gone and blown.
And so far, what would you say is we've got, entrepreneurs watching this, and business owners, and military is a similar thing, people who are busy. What would you say is the biggest unwellness trait that you see with people? What would be the big one change they could do?
It's an interesting question, that, and it's every time I have a consultation call with someone, they say the same thing. I'm busy.
Yeah.
Time. And I sit and listen. Like I said, executives, directors, CEOs, time. I haven't got time. But it's what you do with that time. So the question, I come back and I say to this person, you're a successful person, right? Yeah. But you manage your time doing that. How can you not manage your time with healthy eating, movement, holistic health, and all this? And this is coming away from, I haven't got time to go to the gym. No, okay, don't go to the gym then. I haven't got time to be healthy. Nonsense. It's managing your time. And that is a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of education, having structure, purpose, fulfillment in what you're doing to, make the right choices, cognitive function, this sort of stuff. But the time barrier is the biggest one. And I look at excuses and barriers. Excuses are excuses. Put your hand up and own it and go, it's an excuse. If you've got a barrier, kids, work, deadlines, travel, they're barriers. So that's what the coaching is, to help you around that. But it's time, and it's getting people to manage their time correctly, because they do it in their business. Why can't you do it in your life? So that's what I largely look at with people.
Love it. So I mean, like for me, for instance, I was the heaviest I've ever been in December. And what I've done is I took milk out of my diet, because I was having lattes and stuff. Like I did that in the middle, just before Christmas, like the 15th. I came back to Budapest on the 15th. I was in the UK before that. I said, do you know what? I'm just going to try this. Then I dropped a kilo in about a week and a half. But it wasn't just the milk. I was subconsciously thinking, I need to, if this is my last 6 months of football, that was the goal, the eureka moment. So if I want to go out guns blazing, so to speak, and I want to start every game and I want to finish on a high, I need to shift 10, 15 kilos. Because I was 104, I think, at the peak. And I'm not a tall guy. So I was like, okay, cool, I need to shift 15 kilos. And I want to get back to that weight. So I started with milk. Then I bought an underdesk treadmill just for walking. And it just started falling off me. And I'm as productive, if not more productive, because I'm a little bit more central focused on something. And you don't even notice it now. And I do 2 or 3 hours. So my steps, 10K steps or whatever, which is the Apple daily goal you should be doing, or whatever it is. I've done that by 10 a.m. every day. Because I start work at 7 at my home desk. So I desks up, start walking. And I find myself then going back on it after lunch. And then in January, I changed to, because one of the things with me is what I realize is, and I think a lot of executives do this as well, is I love a McDonald's. I love this food. But it's the snacking. That was the problem. And I felt like I'm not really having a snack. But then I realized, that latte was technically classed as it's a heavy milk, or a Starbucks. That's also a snack. So I'm like, okay, let's try this little window eating. So I just have the one meal in an evening. And then I've dropped. I'm now at the same way I was at my wedding. So, and I think like you're exactly right. I found it myself, but I think that you can find time if you just manage it a little bit better. You don't have to, go and smash the gym and do 12-hour PT sessions.
And this is the message that I deliver, that I'm someone that's sat in front of you now here who gets it right 90% of the time. Mm-hmm. So I'm not a health freak, if you want to call it that. Far from it. I enjoy a beer. I enjoy a McDonald's, all this sort of stuff. But we've lost in society, the concept of what is moderation. We think that moderation is this, when in fact, that is not moderation. Hence, I'm 90% good. But there's so many changes that can be made, like what you said there about the treadmill. So I bought a stand-up desk. Yeah. Just by standing up for the day, by the way, when I got it, I couldn't stand for more than 20, 30 minutes. And I was like, wow, because my back was hurting, my hips were hurting, I was like, wow. But I conditioned myself over time. Now I can stand up all day now. Okay, that's how the body can adapt to things. But just by standing up as well, going back to burning calories or walking or movement, we don't move. We don't. I delivered this presentation yesterday to a company, and we are sedentary. As a coach, a wellness coach, I am sedentary. I sit down or I stand up at my desk, like I said. Going to the gym for 45 minutes is nothing. Yeah. We've got to be moving. The classic example I give is the stairs versus escalator. You go to London, escalator, got 90% people going up the escalator, 9% are walking past them, and 1% is walking up the stairs. And it's things like that, getting your steps in, your 10,000, like you said a day, it's kind of like this trend, but it means something if it's a target to head towards. Yeah. But it's movement. You've got to find something you enjoy. But we are beyond sedentary as a society, which is alarming. The obesity rate, if we go back to the UK, is getting higher and higher, as is being overweight. And also people are in denial about being overweight. I'm not. You are. Because how you look now is not normal. Yeah. Walking down the high street now, if you look quite chiseled, that's considered abnormal. No, that's fit and healthy. And we're not talking bodybuilder standards. We're talking just looking in pretty good nick. Going off on one.
Yeah, no, but you're right. Go for it. Yeah. I mean, my thing is, physically, like I can go and play an hour, 2 hours. I can go and run for 2 hours. And I don't think many people at 38 can do that anymore. Look-wise, so my heart and lungs are good, is what I'm getting at. And my determination, I can do that. But like the recovery was where I was feeling the issue. And obviously, no one wants a fucking beer belly. Let's be honest. No one wants to be fat. No one wants to be this. And I was like, but I do love a kebab. I do love. By the way, side note here: if you want a kebab, the best kebab place in the world is just around the corner here. Let's do it. But I'm currently on a diet, so I can't eat until 5. But my point is like stuff like this. We do a podcast. So the guys would be in and say, oh, we'll order one of these. And now I'd be eating, 1,000+ calorie meal, going home and eating again with the wife and kids, going home and doing this. And then maybe have a snack, after training at football. And I'm like, that wasn't really sensible. So I think that you're right. It's just slightly adapting, standing at a desk. I mean, if you can't stand for 30 minutes, it's a problem, right?
Yeah, I know. But I condition myself to it by doing it. It's like
it's simple though.
I still struggle walking around Budapest now because of my injuries, because of stress fracture I got on my spine, hips and ankle, excuses, whatever. But I struggle. Yeah. You make things work. Going back to your comment about being overweight, so this is massive, right? People come onto my program or I have consultation calls with people. Most people need to lose a bit of weight when they come onto the program. But what I teach them is that becomes a byproduct of being healthy and well and the stuff that we're going to do. I get you want to lose weight. I get that you want to lose your beer belly, but we have to pull this focus away from it's just about the weight. It is, because we need to lose weight in most cases. But let's talk about all the other bits and pieces that come with the health, the degenerative diseases that we're pushing as far right as possible, not getting ill. Injuries, things like that, being out of breath walking up the stairs, lung function, capacity. What about your blood markers? People that come on the program go and do a blood test. And from that blood test, you can look at nutritional deficiencies, cholesterol levels, thyroid, kidney function, liver function, because you might look healthy, But let's go and get tested because you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s and you're a busy person. And all of a sudden we look at these health markers and go, ooh, now it's not just about the weight. That's going to be a byproduct of increasing all your other health markers. Because it's one thing just looking at yourself and going, I'm all right.
It's the picture paints 1,000 words.
Yeah.
That's what people see though. That's what people want. And I think you're exactly right. I think that feeling good, which is what it is, isn't it? It's like everyone wants a six pack because it looks good, but realistically that's because you will feel good if you think you feel good. But I think what I found is by shifting weight and having a little bit of focus on like, I'm only going to eat in this window and I'm going to do my 10,000 steps a day before 10 a.m. and all this stuff. I'm a lot more focused.
Yeah.
Like that was the biggest thing that shocked. Because I was always focused, but I'm like, I can handle 5-6 tasks where I could normally handle 2.
This is health and wellness, and this is cognitive function. So we look at dehydration. If people are 2% of dehydration, which is the smallest amount, can impair your cognitive function up to like 20%. So just the smallest amount. So I say to everyone when they come on the program, how much water we drinking. And I'm not talking teas and coffees and orange juices, water, pure water. You start logging that and hydrating yourself properly, you watch what happens. You start to become, you make better decisions.
And that brings me great into our sponsor of today. Now, but joking aside, have you seen the hydration bottles that flash on the bottom? My wife got me one. I'll have to show you. It's amazing and annoying. So I've got this water bottle. It's like I think a liter, 1.2 liters. And on the bottom, it's got like a 1 month battery. And there's a big circle ring that flashes blue, then red. It's the most annoying. And if you do not pick it up, it'll continue flashing, but really violently, and it'll get angry at you. And then it'll start sending notifications to your phone. Drink. And then what you do is, once you're empty, you fill it up and put it back down. It measures how much water you've drank. So it measures the weight. And I'm smashing 7 or 8 of them a day because it's just saying, drink. And it's not expensive either. And I was like, it's sat on my desk. I'm like, it's going to go off in a minute. It's going to go off.
The genius thing about drinking water, oh my God, this new concept that we've suddenly just worked out. If we drink more water, 1, we feel better, cognitive function, I just spoke about that. 2, you're full up, so you're probably less likely to eat a load of crap. 3, you're probably less likely to have 7 coffees because you're full of water. Yeah. You can have a coffee, but people are living off coffee. They're living off caffeine, they're living off adrenaline, they're living off cortisol, they're living off just stress, go. And this is what holistic health is. This is what holistic health and wellness is, because it's making you perform better as a human being. And we're not thinking performance in the gym, we're talking performance at work. Keep saying it, cognitive function, making decisions. So holistic health and wellness starts with drinking water, reducing caffeine, increasing sleep. That's the biggest one as well, sleep. People aren't sleeping because they're drinking too much coffee, they're too stressed, they're not prioritizing their time, they're working late at night, they're getting blue light on their phones, they are stressed. And I speak from experience, running this business as I've created it single-handedly. It's not been easy, and I've been doing things that I'm like, I tell my clients not to do this. I'm on my phone messaging people at 9 o'clock at night. I'm watching something that's going to help me. Prioritizing time, massive.
Yeah. No, it is. I mean, the blue light thing, I like it. Just what I try and look at is, if you can increase 1% productivity and everything over time. So, standing at your desk, walking at your desk, it's like you're killing the 2 birds at once. Don't you create in time? The blue light thing. I don't need glasses. I've got really good eyesight, luckily. Bought blue light glasses at my desk, game changer. And now I can't look at my phone without wearing them. I can't. And then I think that if you do these little 1% things, they compound so fast. And I'm doing no extra exercise or anything. It's just little tiny things.
Subtle changes, that's it.
Yeah. And I'm drinking, the coffee thing was funny as well, because I was drinking probably out of boredom is the best thing. I'm at my desk, fancy a drink, need something. And I wouldn't go and get water. I'd go get a coffee we've got a great coffee machine at home. And I get a coffee from there, fresh blend, all this stuff. I'm like, why don't I just get a water? And it sounds stupid, but I never even contemplated getting a water until I got this little flashy bottle.
Yeah.
But now I'm probably drinking 2 coffees a day, and I was drinking 6 to 8.
Like you said there, those small changes, 1%ers over everything over time. You don't need to completely reinvent the wheel. When it comes to health and wellness, you don't. You need structure, you need purpose, you need fulfillment. The 3 buzzwords that I use with people: structure, purpose, and fulfillment. And that gives us what is my framework that I spoke about, which is direction, focus, and action. But what it means is, by making these small little changes, and when I coach people, everyone's different. So some people I can throw the world at and they take it and they go and they change. And I'm like, wow. Other people just need, I need you to drink water. That's what you need to do for the next 7 days and everything else. Then we're going to chat and we're going to, right, what's the next thing? And we just build it bit by bit. And over a 12-month coaching program that I provide, you do reinvent the wheel, but you do it bit by bit by bit. And it's incredible. The movement thing is massive. And we hear it all the time, the 10,000 steps, take the stairs, not the escalator. But it's not just, we were in London last week and I stood at the bottom and I looked up, I can't remember what station it was, but it was a long way. And I went, no one's going up there. Guess what's happening now? I'm going up. I was hanging out when I got to the top. But everyone's on the escalator. Not only are people on the escalator, they're not even walking, or 90% of them weren't. Not only are they standing on the escalator, they're like this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're not looking at humans in the eye. You're not interacting with the human race. You're not looking around you. You are just focused on you're not working. There's no way you're working. You're just scrolling and on this dopamine hit. I'm not saying don't go on your phone, but my God, you can't survive the escalator ride, which is 1 minute long or 30 seconds without going on your phone. It's bonkers.
Yeah. But like, I think as well, when people say, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to get fit, I'm going to do this. I think the reason why, because a lot of people quit. Like majority of them, I'd say, January, look at the gyms in January is a good example. And I think that the reason is it's intense. It's hard to like just, 2025 is going to be my year. I'm going to go to the gym every day. It's like small steps.
Yeah.
Equal bigger rewards. And, but the interaction things are I could talk about that for hours.
But people fail. And this is what I found from doing what I do. So, the summer last year, I'd been it was nearly a year into the project, but 6 months from Warrior Wellness Movement's birth. And the people that were coming onto the program were ex-military, they were executives, like I said, and we were doing lots of really cool stuff. But I wanted to stay in my lane of what I know, which was health, wellness, exercise, coaching. And it's behavioural changes. We had people coming onto the program, 50 years old. That's a lifetime of shit to undo. Some people, boom, they can just change like that. But the majority of people that come onto a program, a coaching program, and this is why people quit, this is why people need coaching, is because they need behavioural changes. So I brought in a cognitive behavioural therapist. So a guy called Will Petty works for me, ex-Navy pilot, medically discharged from mental health issues himself, and he became a cognitive behavioural therapist. He's on one of my podcasts.
I've seen it.
Yeah, he's fantastic, and he gets you, or like I say to them, right, you need to drink water as the example we used. And then I chat to them on a coaching call and they're not doing it. Why are you not doing it? I'm telling you to do it. Right. Behavioral changes. Their behavior is so focused on coffee, they haven't got the mental capacity just to make that switch like we just said. Okay. So you have to look at coaching in a cognitive behavioral sense. Same with nutritional therapy. So Hazel, my nutritional therapist, again, on one of my podcasts, rather than just teaching nutrition and being a nutritionist, it's nutritional therapy. Okay, she's also a specialist in women's health. But she looks at people why are they making these decisions? What could we be doing? And then those two interlock nicely with what I do, and that creates that triangle of success, if you like. So it's one. I say, listen, if it was that easy to get fit and healthy, everyone would be in great shape because you can Google it. Go Google it. If you think you can do it by yourself, Google it. But you can't. That's why you need coaching. Cognitive behavioral therapy, nutritional therapy, coaching from what we do. And that's what we do. And the slogan is transforming lives through strength. Because it's not coming onto the program to do a little bit of this. It's transformation. So you need to invest in it financially, emotionally, mentally, socially, spiritually. You need to invest in a journey. You can't just come in half-hearted to anything. That's why people fail. Why do people fail in January? Because they're not investing in it. They're just having a go at something.
You need the light bulb.
You do. Yeah, you absolutely do.
Going back to it, yeah. And I think like that light bulb for me was football's finishing. That's literally what it was. And it's like, okay, do I want to be my last team photo, which is probably going to, I've got every football photo I've had since I was 8. I'm like, my last one. Do I want it to be this fat, chubby guy who's not in the starting lineup? And that was my light bulb. And I think like, even if it is just getting healthy, losing weight, I think, that's not enough.
Correct. That's massive, right? So Simon Sinek, right? What's your why?
Yeah.
I say to people, what's your why? Why are you trying to do something? And I say to people, I want to lose weight. That's nothing. That means nothing. Go back to the classic SMART goals we learned in the 90s, and the SMART, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timed. It means something. I want to lose weight. No, not having it. I want to be healthy.
Go do lipo then.
Pardon?
Go do lipo. You'll put it back on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You've got to. There needs to be a what's your why. There needs to be implications. I say to people, what are the implications? If we have this chat in a year's time and you haven't actioned what you're doing, what's the implications? And that's digging and prodding people to go on, what's the implications? You just told me your cholesterol's high. You just told me you're overweight. You just told me you're unhappy. You just told me you're not productive. You told me you've got no energy. Go on then, another year, what's going to happen? And that's my very aggressive military sort of questioning, but it's true. Go on. And then people go, yeah, okay. So we need to action it, right? How are we going to action it? Through structure, purpose and fulfillment. So yeah, all these buzzwords, but it's not just like have a go at this, have a go at that. So when I say to someone, drink some water, log it, is that all we're doing? Well, yeah, but just do that first. And if you can prove that, we'll move on to the next thing. And obviously sleep, nutrition, movement, there's loads to it. But yeah, you need that light bulb moment. And like I said, more importantly, what is your why? Why are you here? Why are you having this conversation? Mm-hmm. And if you can do it yourself, go and Google it then.
Yeah.
I'll chat to you in 6 months.
Yeah. And on that, let's close up. We always have one question that we close up with. And what I would say is this is a kind of a thing. If you could add one thing to your business right now, what would it be? Open question.
Good question. I was having this discussion with that lovely lady at the other end of the room there, because we've got cognitive behavioural therapy, got nutritional therapy, we've got me. There's a fourth element that we're in discussions with people at the moment. It's potentially some sort of leadership model. Mm-hmm. It's a leadership model to come in, and if we're looking at transforming someone's life and we're covering all areas, I'm still looking for that next thing, and that's the way we're going. But it's having another separate entity, somebody, an SME. Like I said, I want to stay in my lane. Will wants to stay in his lane. Hazel in hers. What's that next one that's going to come in that's the missing piece? We're still trying to find it. But maybe I don't know the answer, but it's heading towards some sort of leadership model. Remember what I said about my experiences in football, of looking at how other organisations are run, how they're successful. How can this be even more successful to give people the ultimate success of what they're trying to do at a busy, busy level?
That sounds interesting.
Does that answer it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think you've just answered it. And
yeah.
What's coming next?
Yeah.
So, so everyone can find your details down on the pinned comment and in the description box. And what's the best way to contact you? Is it LinkedIn or email?
You find me all over the internet: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, email, website. New website being, as this is recorded, new website being built, but there is an old one that's still there. Warrior Wellness Movement. Bang it in, you'll find it. Ollie Osborne, and yeah, come and have a look at my stuff. Listen to me talk, and let's have a chat.
Put that down there as well. Cheers, Ollie. Thanks very much, mate. Cheers, mate.